address that issue. So starting with you, Dr. Gatare, having been part of the digital transformation of Rwanda from early 2000s, you've seen the journey that Rwanda took to leverage ICT to fast-track its socioeconomic transformation. I would want you to take us through that journey, telling us the approaches to building the capacity in Rwanda, so to really have in place the needed skills. But before that, I would request each of the panelists to introduce in 1 minute and telling us about himself and the work he's involved in. Please, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. So my name is Nyas Gatare. I'm the principal of the College of Science and Technology. So to give you the picture, this is the largest public higher learning institution, the University of Rwanda. The scale is at 28,000 students, covering all sectors. It's multidisciplinary. And if I focus on the colleges, so we have 6 colleges, among them the College of Science and Technology, which cover science, all sciences and engineering, from fundamental sciences, ICT, mining, geology, engineering, the traditional engineering. And the same college is a host of 5 centers of excellence, from energy to IoT to biomedical engineering, but also fields like biodiversity and others. You know, Rwanda is very sensitive to climate and biodiversity. So it's really the major supply of skills. From undergraduate, now we are developing masters. We have 15 masters program running under the college itself, and also some professional training program, as I will elaborate more during the presentation. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ravi. I'm the Managing Director of CNK Management, which is Content and Knowledge Management. Starting in 2000, today we are partners with governments, Indian government, many of the ministries, and quite a few outside the country too. And we partner World Bank, UNICEF, UNDP, WHO, and many of these multilateral agencies on capacity building. So we help governments improve service delivery through digital capacity building initiatives, over mobile, over internet, over all sorts of applications. We also run a skills subsidiary in which we help Indian youth be skilled for specific jobs and get them and then get them placed in organizations. We do roughly about, we have a target of 500,000 people over 8 years. We do about 50,000-60,000 a year, where we train them and get them jobs.
Good evening. I'm Prasun Nigam. I represent a company, Sensoize Digital Services Private Limited. It's a 3 years old or young, whatever you call it, a startup. It's being managed by 7 management team members. I am one of those team members. All of us come from very strong telecom background. Currently, for last 3 years, this company is working in a M2M and IoT connected domain, where our focus is on quality of service and security by design. We partner with all the telcos in India, and we are technology agnostic. Thank you.
Nicola?
Good evening. My name is Nicola Eman. I'm the Marketing and Communication Coordinator for Andela. Andela is a software engineering as a business-based company. We're founded on the belief that brilliance is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. So there's a high demand for software engineers worldwide, but the talents, especially in Africa, don't necessarily have the opportunity to tap into these opportunities. This is why we recruit them. We place them in an environment to enable them to grow as software engineers and become world-class software engineers. We recruit them at all levels, junior, mid-level, and senior software engineers. And actually, with the capacity they receive, they are able to not only tap into the market opportunities, but also be able, as they complete their journey and become senior software engineers, to actually advance the development of Africa through ICT. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Akaizeme Angelique Noela. I'm the Program Development and Learning Manager for Rwanda. Digital Opportunity Trust is a youth-led movement of social innovators who have the tools, the knowledge, and the network to create opportunities and transform the communities. So the model of Digital Opportunity Trust, a model called Digital Skills at Scale, is aimed at supporting community empowerment, where DOT, in partnership with the Ministry of ICT and Innovation, has implemented the Digital Ambassador Program that focuses mainly on empowering youth leaders to become community trainer and empower the community in digital skills, but also being the social innovator to bring the digital solution that we need in the community. And also the program aims at bridging the gender digital gap by deliberately recruiting young women and empowering them to become trainers in the community to make sure that women have access to the needed skills to avoid leaving anyone behind, and also looking at empowering the bottom of the pyramid with the relevant digital skills. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Gatare. So as I was saying, maybe I'll repeat the question. Having been part of the Rwanda Digital Transformation Initiation, I want you to take us through the journey of Rwanda in building the needed capacity as a country that has put ICT at the center of the socio-economic transformation of the country, and maybe tackle a bit on what has been the challenges and the untapped opportunity that are still there.
Thank you very much. So, as it has been presented during the discussion on infrastructure, maybe also presented by policymakers, Rwanda embraced the path towards digital transformation since the 2000s, beginning 2000, which what we call National Information Communication Infrastructure Plan, which aimed at increasing connectivity. And it took a decision of, which was really very disruptive, of venturing in wiring the country without taking into account the digital opportunity in a business sense, meaning, first of all, access. And the fiber optic backbone was laid down around 2009 and completed in 2010 months. More than close to 3,000 kilometers of fiber were laid down across the country. A data center was built, and later on the 4G LTE network, which is now covering almost the entire territory. And the telecom mobile penetration also has increased, and also the usage of services in terms of government, like the platform we use for e-government portal, the Rwanda Online. And all those came as an initiative to transform Rwanda, but also Rwanda is part of the Transform Africa Alliance, which is a vision from all Africa in partnership, of course, with strong partners like India to embrace and make sure that digital transformation is a reality. However, when we look at the digital landscape or ecosystem, you find the skills development, the talent, and one of the presenters said in a previous session that you can have infrastructure, you can have everything, but if you don't have the right people and the talent, you will lose the real benefit. You will not leverage or harness the entire. That's why the government also, in parallel to developing infrastructure and other services, embrace also in investing in capacity building at various levels by creating the institutions. There is either formal education at the university level. This is the case of University of Rwanda, but also at higher advanced training level. We know that Carnegie Mellon University, the director is a little bit behind, but is here. Professor Kumar is a director of the CMU Rwanda, Africa. CMU Africa was initiated also to address the skills at the high end, but also supporting the entire ICT ecosystem, not only for Rwanda, but for Africa. Those kind of strategic partnership, either with the skills or education supplier, with the industry. We know Korea Telecom is here with Rwanda. We know that Liquid Telecom has private, MTN and other, Airtel, which is also present in India. It shows that the government is proactive to put in place the enabling environment, and the skills is part of that approach. And when you go back to the real challenges which are in the skills, we are inheriting the education sector, which is from the colonization period, whereby we train people to look for a job, and we train people traditionally with skills which are from academia, the pure traditional academia, while the industry is much more advancing at a very rapid scale, but also in terms of skills quality, it's changing. So that's why the government took the initiative in partnership with other investors in the education sector to reinforce the higher education, but also the TVET. I will talk particularly for the higher education side, because if I talk with the TVET, I may not have sufficient time. It's, shall we continue with the training of undergraduates who goes to the market and found to be not relevant or not having the right skills? And then research and higher education at the master's, but also creating enabling environment like centers of excellence came on the table of discussion. And that's why I say currently we are hosting 6 centers of excellence from data science, IoT, energy, biodiversity, biomedical engineering. Why? Because we want to align the skills to the industry needs. And any investment in education should come to address the need of the industry. What are the key focus? The focus is relevance. If you're training people, is to serve which market? That's why at the University of Rwanda, we are in the process of reviewing our program. And to review those programs, we need the input from the industry. So I think one of the points of discussion here is how to make sure that the industry leaders are part and are actors in the education sector by creating a pipeline for dialogue so that we know exactly what is the industry needing. If you look at the skills needs, there is a curriculum, flexible, adaptive curriculum is needed, but also the industry to participate in the training by allowing the industrial attachment, but also professional internship after. Those are the key elements. But also research. How do you make sure that the research is done in line with the problem we are facing in the society? The other aspect is entrepreneurship. So we train using the traditional mode, but with the easy access to platform, we are seeing a new dynamics. Students are having access to low-cost development platforms like Arduino and other, and they self-learn and develop products out of the normal curriculum. How do you integrate that so that we don't let them moving in tandem, but rather moving in synergy, so that we create the university, which is rather a space of learning, which integrates various forms of learning which are flexible. Therefore, the assessment part of it. However, when they develop a product, how do you ensure that they can be incubated? So the incubation is also another aspect. I think my colleague will help us nurture that discussion of incubation even within the university space when we want to do really digital transformation and impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gatare. To you, Mr. Ravi, he mentioned of empowering the students, but we know that ICT is beyond academia. It's also in the rural areas as well as cities. So how do we use ICT to empower the citizen and educate them?
Yes, thanks, Josephine. If you'll permit me, I will share a few stories. I have a presentation there if you can switch it on, or even if they don't, right? So there are few stories that I want to share with you, which we have done in India and elsewhere.
It's on.
The first one, yeah, so if you can move it forward. It's all about capacity building because you're talking of transformation, right? The first one, there are rural areas in India where child and women mortality was high. So there's been a project to reduce this. And while reducing this, the government has got 1.4 million women who are from that village, working in that village to help tackle these challenges. Now, these women need to be skilled. They need to have a better way to teach people about nutrition, malnutrition, how do you get the child's brain developed so that you don't have a stunted, you may have a physically proper boy, but he's a stunted child. So things like these. So we partnered with the World Bank, GIZ, and UNICEF to run multiple programs, all of them on a smartphone. Very interestingly, these women, somebody was talking about rural connectivity. Connectivity is not very good. So we created an offline app where the courses are embedded and then those women can learn. Even where there is a difficulty, they spend money out of their pocket to learn. If you can go to the next one, we have more than 700,000 women learning like that. Sanitation has been a huge mission in India. Our Prime Minister drove a mission called Swachh Bharat. But what we realized after building hundreds of millions of toilets, people were still defecating in the open in rural area. So how do we change behaviors? So we captured video stories as a partner of the World Bank and started distributing this through the block development officers, through rural leaders like we have panchayats, the local leaders. So you can use digital in every case. If you can move forward. And I will show you 5 or 6 cases. Please go forward. This is a direct benefit transfer that the government of India gives to pregnant women so that they don't have to work the last few days of pregnancy and the first few days post-childbirth. Offtake was not too good. So in one of the states in India, what we did was, they said, can you train 100,000 staff of the government in 1 month? Because we want to run it like a mission mode. If you want to train 100,000 people in 1 month, you can't bring them into classrooms. So we did a cascaded training model. Some classroom training, some digital. We created mobile nuggets, which the last mile could even WhatsApp it to the husband or the brother or the father so that the women knew what the benefits were and how to register and how to get the money, right? So if you can go forward. This is something we do with the World Bank. I think this is one of the finest initiatives that we are partners with. Government spends trillions of dollars. The public procurement across the world is 10 trillion. Developing economies, which include all the African countries and India and many others, we spend $1 trillion every year buying. It could be buying for schools, education, power. It could be even perhaps defense equipment. But if you don't buy well, and this buying is right down to the rural, right down to the head of the community. So how do we train them, right? So we have trained close to over 100,000 people, and close to 30,000 people have been certified. They know now how to buy well. Not only that, now we work with specific countries in Egypt, in Kyrgyzstan, where country-specific models. And then even better, how do you manage the public finance? How do you manage the budgeting correct? How do you spend it correct? These are all very important questions for governments, even in Africa, I guess. And I guess there's one last one. This is a very nice one we did. You were talking about citizen, right? So many government officers face citizens. So in India, UNDP and we collaborated along with the Department of Personnel and Training and said e-induction of every cutting-edge officer. Those who come in touch with citizen on the ground, they better show citizen-centric behavior. They can't be lord and master that I am the local government officer, I have all the power. So we had to change the behaviors. So we did this digitally. Last year, about almost 500,000 people got trained. This year, it'll be in millions. That's the scale that you can get when you go. And coming back, and the last one, which is a point that you raised. If you can go forward, please. This accelerated skills development. I told you in our subsidiary, we are a partner with the Skills Mission in India. There is an entity called the National Skills Development Corporation, which is driving this in hundreds of millions of people who get trained. And again, there we use digital. So this is on telecom handset sales. We have done for wiremen, electrician, many such courses in partnership with the Commonwealth Educational Media. So the whole idea is when you're looking at skills, it's not just those maybe handful of 1,000 people, 2,000 people who will be in ICT, who will probably develop and so on and so forth. It's also skilling the entire population. And they're all ICT ready. I can tell you in this women that we work with, close to 700, 800,000 already now in 14 different languages in India. They all just have a smartphone and they got used to it within 30 minutes. And they're excited because they're learning new things and they're transforming their own society. I think that's what you can accelerate given the mission that you have.
Thank you so much, Ravi. And I believe that speaks to the next question that I had. Yes, we have these skills and the technologies that people are really embracing. But all is not well because technology also has some downsides. We're talking about Internet of Things where we have automated cars, we have automated houses, but also the threats comes along. If I can ask you, Mr. Prasoon, to elaborate on the challenges that comes with technology and how to handle them as a way to empower the communities to really have the capacity to use technology well, to add value on what they do, but also remain safe and protected.
Thank you, Jaswin. As you correctly said, any new technology brings its own challenges and poses threat for the community and governance. And it increases many-fold when we go into the domain of IoT. When we talk about connected cars, connected houses, connected powerhouse, connected health, so it poses a bigger threat. And their foremost and important thing is digital trust. Digital that is a prerequisite for any IoT or M2M initiative. For that, first thing would be the way India has done, making a regulation, standardization, and ensuring that in any smart city or IoT initiative, first thing is that privacy of the data. Who I am is kept about who I am. It's not traded. And that data is kept in the hand of its reliability is maintained, it's not cross-traded. Similarly, that its security, my data is secured, and quality of service and those type of things are very, very important when you are running a mission-critical system. To have this remote manageability. If some asset is traveling somewhere, some machine is there, something is down, so you should be remotely able to manage that thing. And for that, end-to-end security and factory fitment of the secured element is very, very important. And if we are going for this next revolution, like 4G brought a revolution for the handset, for smart sets, 5G is going to bring a revolution in the smart city. So we must have a regulation and security by design and quality of service that can only be obtained if there is, say, in countries, a standardization body is formed and future generation is trained and educated in that direction.
Thank you so much, Prasoon. Go straight to Nicola. I would want you to elaborate a bit on what you do at Andela in terms of complementing efforts from academia or augmenting the value of graduates in the African context and getting them ready for the digital economy or the digital to contribute to the digital transformation of Africa.
Thank you. So I heard the point that was raised by our colleague from the University of Rwanda. And it's actually a good point. If we think about this, at Andela, we recruit the best software engineering talents from different backgrounds, whether from graduates from university or from a university or different academic backgrounds, let's say. We put them within distributed teams, and they grow from a level of junior software engineer to a level of senior software engineer. Within this journey, they are not just trained, they are actually working for clients all around the world. This gives us an opportunity to identify the gap, not only in terms of technical skills, but also in terms of soft skills. We identify many gaps, teamwork, time management, patience, so many things that clients give us as a feedback. This feedback gives us the opportunity to actually reach back to different institutions like the University of Rwanda, for example, to actually tell them about these different areas that we've been able to identify and work together to make changes to the way that these youth or university students are trained. I believe that in a very near future, in the few years to come, because we invest so much in taking someone from a level of junior to a level of senior, it takes an average of 3 to 4 years. So if we're able to contribute to these, to building these curriculums, to actually identify these problems and address these problems at the university level, this will definitely reduce the investment that is made in the software engineers. They will actually be advanced when they join us, and the time to go from junior to senior to a senior level will be reduced. And this will definitely enable them to contribute more significantly and more rapidly to the digital transformation of Africa. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, Noella, you've talked of ensuring no one is left behind, including even the women. If you could tell us more about what you do at DOT in the Digital Ambassadors Program, the impact created so far, and maybe challenges and opportunities you see ahead.
Thank you. The Digital Ambassador Program focuses mostly on, first of all, empowering young graduates to give them the relevant skills, but also to enable them to become agents of change in the community where they get facilitation skills, but also get introductions to social innovation so that they can start to look around in the community, analyze the challenges that we have, and start looking at what they can do to bring on the digital solution that we need. So as they go into the field, they start mobilizing the citizen so that they can give them the trainings that are aimed at empowering the community to use the tool at their hands and to use, mostly in the rural community, you will find feature phones. But what we want is for them to start using their mobile phone, the computer in the telecenters around, to use the technologies available, or to go beyond the calls and the text messages and use the technology to build a living. So among the impact that we have is that we observed an increase in the uptake of the e-services, an increase in the digital skills in the community, and especially for women, an increase in their confidence to use ICT for development. Looking at some of the challenges that we had, you will find that looking at the bottom of the pyramid, the internet connectivity and the device are still a bit expensive. Lucky enough, there are different solutions that are being implemented, For example, we have the Mala funds that are bringing affordable tools that citizens can use that are internet enabled. And also the telecoms has put on the market different internet packs and bonuses that accommodate the purchasing power of the rural community. So in short, the community, we need to be able to empower the community so that those engineers, those IT software developers that we are building, we can build a market for them so that the consumer are aware of the opportunities around for them so that they are more engaged and more participative in the process of digital inclusion.
Thank you so much. But here I want to open the floor to the audience. Is there maybe questions? We can take 2 or 3 questions, and then we can get to the conclusion of the panel. The floor is yours. No question? Oh, mic in the back, please.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Rita Mtaz Clemence. I'm the principal of IPRC Tumba, the Polytechnic among 8 countrywide. So my question is for someone from Andera. I heard what you are doing to bridge the gap between the skills from university and industry. I wanted to know, you talked about the feedback and how it is feed in to academia. I want to know how you have worked, what you have achieved so far, and from the side of academia, how was it easy to integrate your feedback into academia, the curriculum, especially that sometimes we know our curriculum is not that adaptive and flexible. Thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, what I said, Andela started operations in Rwanda only a year ago. So what I was actually saying is that I think this process is going to be solved in the years to come. Because currently our engineers are ready to work within different companies around the world. So that process will enable us to collect this feedback. So as of now, the feedback that we have received is really that we need to increase the soft skills. But we haven't already included this feedback to the curriculums, but I do believe that it's something that we'll be able to do in the years or months to come. For a short story, we are actually based in the University of Rwanda campus, and we are actually, the University of Rwanda is our main source of talent. In a year, we've recruited 80 software engineers, and 20 of them are coming from the University of Rwanda. So again, since they have the biggest pool of talent so far, I do believe that they are the ones who train these youth, these software engineers. We are putting them to work, and so they know what they gave us, and so they will be able to do something significant with our contribution, with the feedback we give them. But so far, I have to admit that it's something we haven't had an opportunity to work on. Yes.
Thank you. Any other question, please?
Hello, my name is Jordanka Tomkova from Innova Bridge Foundation from Switzerland. And it's great to hear so many success stories from around the world. My question is specifically about exposure of rural population to ICT and let's say, and to behavioral change and actual, change and full adoption, not just exposure. What is typically the time window that you have had in your experiences going, as I said, from exposure to for behavioral change and actual usage of ICT for whatever purpose?
Ravi, you want to take that? Please.
Thank you. Yeah, so very good question. It's one of the toughest things to do, to get that behavior change on the ground. But what we have learned to do is not just leave it unidimensional in terms of creating some material that people will consume and they will change on their own. It doesn't happen. So you need to socialize it. And that socializing piece has to be done by a catalyst. So in that women thing that I was telling you, so we have created periodic interventions where jointly with the World Bank in one case and UNICEF in another, periodic interventions where the supervisors create a storytelling session amongst all the women. What is the problem you faced in a breastfeeding example, for example, or a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law issue, or child being stunted despite nutrition. So the storytelling and successes and failures that they have helps them to reflect over it. If reflection does not happen, change is not going to happen. Definitely not. In the sanitation case, I think the learning very clearly was when an external body, could be the World Bank or we as a partner or somebody else, goes there and preach in a village or even in some other body. So they come there for the chai and samosas, which is the tea and the goodies that they get to eat. As soon as we go, they're back to square one. So if we are going to stand there and preach, nobody's going to take it. But if the preach is coming from somebody who's in a nearby village or some other village, they had events of the whole village being garlanded and a big noise when the whole village became open defecation free. So that story is when it goes around. And there's this old man who is still, not ready. But the moment the village hears it and the village puts pressure on him, it's different. When a child holds an old man and says, please don't do it, because in my school, they're keeping me last in queue. Why? Because, we're not using the toilets at home. So behavioral change is very tough, but you got to find these small little buttons and then use strategic levers to push them. It's a very hard work that one has to do on the ground. But once you internalize it, I think it's viral. Then you get enough people there talking about it, enough people there wanting to make it happen. Then it becomes a passion. Today, I think in India, almost out of 703 districts, almost 300 have announced we don't have any open defecation anymore. It's taken 70 years to reach here. It took 100 million toilets, but still people were doing it outside. That behavioral change is the toughest part, without any doubt. But there are answers. It's long drawn, systematic effort one needs to do.
Maybe you want Noella also to tackle that question.
Looking back at the behavior change, what we do in our training is that we focus more on the adult learning, where we look at what are the content that are relevant to the citizen. Then we put our effort in enabling the youth from that same community to be the one to be the role model and also to be the one to mobilize the community and support them through the training by showing them and help them to practice and try out so that they can feel more comfortable in applying those technology. But also what we do is to establish what we call digital community club, so that the community in their small group, they can keep exploring the relevant technologies available based on their lifestyle, so that what they learn doesn't only stay in their classroom or class session, but they continue using it on daily life. So we look at how can we make the activity, the content relevant to their lifestyle so that we can increase their uptake and utilization of the technology at hand.
Thank you so much, Noella. I think we are short in time, so we're going to try to wrap up. Maybe other questions might be, taken off after the panel is concluded, or even online. And in terms of concluding, I would like to ask maybe a last question to Dr. Gatare. Looking at the dynamics of the fourth industrial revolution, So there's needs of future skills, as it's called, or the 21st century skills. And I wonder, how is the university monitoring or projecting the needs of the new skills of, that are needed? And maybe, if yes, who is doing what? If not, who has to do what? Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. As I said during my intervention, first of all, we need really to shift from the fixed, static curriculum delivered in a traditional classroom based, where the teacher is the provider of knowledge and the students are recipients. What we have to do is, first of all, to be adaptive in terms of adopting the changes which is happening in the industry, consider it as input and be flexible to change. As far as fourth industrial revolution is concerned, we may think about introducing course, and we are trying our best to do it already. Courses like robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other new technologies. We need to adopt them. They are not really going to be only provided by the industry, of course done in a collaboration with industry. As you mentioned, at the end, when you look at the model of interaction in the fourth industrial revolution, the soft skills mentioned by my colleague will be key. How do we ensure that when the student or graduate is out of our university, can communicate correctly and appropriately according to the needs of the market, can have problem-solving skills, critical thinking, have imagination, innovation. Innovation is not only in the R&D lab. The innovation should be seen as a cross-cutting across everything. It's not only technology. How do you innovate in a workplace? Your attitude, your capacity to work with people, and so on. So I think what I said, and I continue to repeat, is the university to be a learning space, maybe during a certain period of time, which is a time window of 3 to 4 years for undergrad and even for PhD, but that should be a journey for a lifelong learning and be able to impact the society, so that when you talk about SDGs, this is not a language only for media and communication in certain setup, NGOs and the government and industry. So that the student understand that when we talk about sustainable development goal, how can I integrate those concepts in my learning process? And the teacher and the professor is a facilitator of learning, so that he understands that his role is not to deliver a degree, but is to make a punctual intervention to empower a citizen, so that other players like my colleagues, the industry, the Andela, DOT, Digital Opportunity Trust can come in, but it's a package. That's my understanding, and then we can adjust to the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ravi, we've talked about how ICT can be used to educate the citizen. And maybe my last question to you will be, how do we also create creators of technology from our societies, from our communities? And maybe Prasun will also touch on this from the advanced technology perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, before I do that, I just want to add an addendum to what Doctor said about these soft skills, and I think Andela, he also talked about it. 2001, when India started a Master's of Science and in Information and Technology in Hyderabad, we partnered with Carnegie Mellon University, because they were the corresponding university which was certifying the students at that time. And I remember the dean when he came from California at that time, and he said, you know, these students are great in math and science, and they can perhaps visualize algorithms, but they can't even communicate. So what are we going to do with these students? So we created a good curriculum, 100 hours of online even then, and 100 hours of classroom training, and ran that for 2 years, and certified these kids that they could actually play a role in the industry. So maybe there's a good learning there. And you also said there is CMU here, so maybe you should lean on them. And there's an old curriculum that I can share on what we did in India. Maybe that could help you. All right? So as far as driving individual youth to go and start businesses of their own, that's what you're talking of, right? Innovating and startups and things like that. I think before that they need to blood their hands, which means they need to have some work to do, right? And if they have to have work to do, your industries here will have to give them jobs. So it's a cycle, right? In India, what's happened is over the years, because the companies take in students in the third year, fourth year, and they run for 3 months, 6 months. Engineering students sometimes spend 6 months inside a company, right? In the third year, my son studied in Singapore. He spent 6 months inside a company, right? So when you do that extensive time in the company, you get to understand the market, you understand the dynamics, and then it's easy for you to try your hand. Like in India, half the IITians, IIT is the best known institute in India, right? And I'm from one of them. Half of us just stop, don't even go and join a customer or a company. We just go and start our own ideas. That's because the confidence is there, that you've been inside the industry, you know what the market is, you know what you can do and what you cannot do. So that's that vicious cycle. And perhaps again you can learn there from India that, and I spoke briefly to him earlier, we have this National Skills Development Corporation, which is tasked with, I think, 200 million youth in 10 years to be skilled so that they can do jobs and then they can become entrepreneurs. So maybe there's some ideas from India that you can learn.
So much. Maybe also building from what Ravi said, the cultural difference between academia.
For any country to grow, first they have to define their own vision. 50, 60 years back, Indian economy was 70% dependent upon the agriculture. And today, 70% comes from services sector. So you as a country, Rwanda has to decide where their future growth has to be, not only looking at introvertly what 120 million, this 12 million population will do within Rwanda, but globally. What type of challenges and technology they will be facing when they come to the market. So accordingly, they tailor-made their curriculum. They make them marketable commodity when they come out of the college. It's not that what E is equal to MC square they are still teaching, or V is equal to U plus 80. So that, I mean, that's what my thing too. So your country has to decide the future from which sector has to come, growth has to come, and how your youth can make changes and make such changes in your curriculum. Like the way these habits are very difficult to change. Similarly, nothing will happen overnight. There's no single capsule which you give to your distributor to your students, and it will get transformed. Thank you.
Any last comment?
Something I'd like to add, we've been talking about people with university background, with university degrees. But what I want us to remember here is talent, because people from many different backgrounds have talents, and these are talents that we should put to work. At Andela, we receive approximately 1,000 applications per month of people who want to become software engineers. These are people within Kigali, these are people from rural areas, these are people from all over Africa who actually by themselves are leveling up in software engineering. So they are just looking for the right infrastructure, for the right environment to nurture these talents and actually enable them to grow and fulfill their dream to become world-class software engineers. So we should put our efforts to actually build the mechanisms to enable also these people to have access not only to the technical skills, but also to the soft skills to be able to compete with all the other software engineers with university degrees or worldwide who are actually building the field.
Thank you. Noella, if you can briefly also tell us our closing remarks.
So, as we encourage the community to consume and utilize the digital technology available, we also need to be able to empower them in a way that they feel safe and secure as they venture online. As nowadays, as technology advances, so does the ways of tricking people advance as well. So creating awareness so that people are aware of the mobile and digital scam, so that people are able to know the different way of protecting themselves, but also ensuring that the content available online are relevant to them, and also minding the language barrier so that even those who don't understand the English and French can also be able to consume the information that are available for their personal or skills development. That's the way that we can be able to ensure that the utilization of the digital skills and the technology that we are putting in their hands is continuous to be able to enable our economic development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In concluding, I'll make a summary of key takeaways from Noella: awareness, inclusiveness, from Nicola, soft skills that empowers our engineers to really compete on the market. We've talked also about adaptive curricula that accommodates entrepreneurship. And then earlier on, we had discussed of digital capacity building that impacts citizens, and then building collaboration that allows the private sector and academia to collaborate to really produce the relevant skills for the future. I thank you all, and please help me in thanking our panelists, and thank you all once again. Have a great evening.
A round of applause. All right, I think, sorry, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. Thank you. I think we've had an engaging day and a full day of discussions. So just a quick announcement before we release you. Please enjoy the exhibition that's taking place in the room next to us. Then at 6 p.m. this evening, there's going to be a networking cocktail in this very room. And then at 7 p.m., there'll also be a networking dinner sponsored by CDOT and the Rwanda Convention Bureau. We encourage you to attend and to meet people and network. So with that, we conclude this part of today's discussion, and then we'll be seeing you again tomorrow bright and early at 8:30 to begin the next sessions. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.